Well, good afternoon, all. My name is Matt Penniman. I'm the Communications and Advocacy Director for the League of Michigan Bicyclists, and I'd like to welcome you to this session of our Spoke and Speaker series on different tools and organizations across Michigan that you can use to have a great bicycling experience. Our presenters today are Jim Plaunt of Bike Tour Vacations, Jordan Buzzy, and Dave Mansfield of Tri-County Bicycling Association. And we're going to do a deep dive into mapping your route and the tools that are available to find where to ride and find the safest and most accessible routes to get you there. Without further ado, please put your questions as we go into the chat, and we'll address those as we can. And Jim, take it away.
Well, thank you, Matt. I'm going to start some screen sharing here. Um, we're here today because somebody got mad a while back at a Facebook thing. Um, and I guess that must be me. And I've lost my ability to get rid of that taskbar at the top. How did I do that a moment ago? It was three dots somewhere. Well, I'm sorry, I can't get back to it. Um, I'll work on that. There was a Facebook post that the league had last October, October 2nd or 3rd, I believe it was. And part of it, it was just a question. How do you feel about the state of cycling in Michigan today? And and that's a normal question if you have a Facebook page. You have to keep chatter up on the page. And there were a bunch of answers. Most of them were blue sky and sunshine. I love this trail. I go out with my friends. We have a great time. I always do this ride. Um, but then there was a minority of comments that were extremely negative along the lines of motorists are on their phone all the time. They're going to kill you. The roads are terrible. I will never ride my bike in Michigan again, which really bothered me. And you can't engage on Facebook to discuss this kind of stuff. Um, And so I called John at the league and I said, we are the group who can control things, or we're the group who have access to leaders in the industry, to people who do this all the time. What is it that I do that's different from somebody who's upset at everything out there? What gives me confidence to ride that somebody might not have? So we wrote down an outline for this series. 2 weeks ago, we heard from our friends who own bike trails. We heard from the Metro Park, Huron Clinton Metro Parks here in Detroit, also from the B2B trail in Washtenaw County. This is kind of low-hanging fruit. If you're a new cyclist, where do you go first? How do you get riding? And where is it safe to be? And all these places that have infrastructure for us are very important. Last week, we heard from 3 bicycle clubs and a bike shop. These are local resources that are relatively inexpensive and commonly available and have great offerings for the public from a safety standpoint. The 3 clubs were Tri-County Bike in Lansing. Pat Kelly was there. Ann Arbor Bike Tour Society, Dan Harrison. And then the Metro 313 Cyclones / Major Taylor Detroit, Marco Speaks. 3 bicycle clubs, and then a bike shop. All resources for people to be aware of before they go out on a bike. Who's going to help them ride, and those groups were important. Today we're talking about online mapping and online resources. It's a huge topic, and we're going to try and just cover some main points here. The title is Finding Places to Ride. We don't want to help you find a place to ride so much as find a way to go out and be safe and secure on your bicycle. So a little peek behind the curtains here on some of the tips or things that bike clubs and tour operators use to be safe. I'm going to stop my screen share. Dave Mansfield is a master mapper for Tri-County Bike in Lansing, the Genesee Wanderers up in the Flint area, and also for a bike club in Jackson. Dave, if you would like to unmute and lead out with your list or your sources of these things, that'd be great.
There's a lot of tools, but if you told me you can only have one tool, it would definitely be Ride with GPS. Unfortunately, we don't have time to talk about all the tools. Another one I'd like to mention is OpenStreetMaps. And I like OpenStreetMaps for a couple reasons. One is their bike trails are a lot more up to date than Google Maps. If you go into OpenStreetMaps, you can find all kinds of trails that you're not going to find on Google. And they also have different layers. And they have one layer called CYCLOSM. I guess it's too lazy to spell cycle all the way out. But the reason I like that layer is gravel roads are going to be dashed lines. And, gravel roads can be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on your opinion. And also, in my case, which bike am I on at the time? And the other thing I like about OpenStreetMap is it can be edited. I can edit OpenStreetMap. Anybody can edit it, or if they're not familiar with it, you can put a note on the map, or better yet, send me an email, because I'll probably get it done a lot quicker than if you just put a note on the map. If surface type's wrong, or there's a new bike trail that's not on it yet, whatever, that can be put on it. And that is one of the data sources that you can use in Ride with GPS. But if I go to plan a route in Ride with GPS, I hit Route Planner, then I can select different maps. Right now I got Ride with GPS Cycle as a default, but I can also do Google Map, Google Satellite, Google Hybrid, Google Terrain, several different OSM options. But once you get on there, there's a couple things that will help you. You can do a heat map, turn on global heat map, and you can see the red lines on my screen. And the heavier the red line, the more people have rode their bikes there. So that's a good way to, if everybody's riding their bike on a road, it's probably a fairly good road. Another thing you can do is go into Explore. And if you go into Explore now, you can see routes in the area. And if I cursor over one of them, give me the name of it, and I can click on it and it'll tell me more about it. So you can find where other people have already created routes. So those are both nice options to, help you decide where you want to route. You can also, a lot of clubs will have accounts. Like if I go into Tri-County Bicycle Association, so if I click on route library, it'll give me a listing of all the routes. If I go in route map view, it will show them in map view. And so like there's 70 routes right around here. I can click on those. And sometimes if I'm creating a new route, I'll look at existing routes and, take pieces from this one and pieces from that one and paste them together. I can also go into like Genesee Wanders, and it's going to be the same thing. If I go route map view, I can click on it and it'll bring up a list of them. I can zoom in on that one's, I guess, all starting from the same spot. But if one of those has different starting spots, as you zoom in, it's going to give you, it's going to start breaking them apart. Makes it easy to find routes that other people's been riding. And between this and the heat map view, it's fairly easy to find, so you can see all the heat map here, find areas where others has been riding, which is a big help. And if I start creating a route, and we'll just get someplace I know I'm going to hit some roads. So if I say start here, and I want to route over here, it routed me on pavement to avoid gravel if I want to do gravel. And that's, depending on what map style I have, it may or may not do that automatically. But so let's undo that. undo button, all the faces in front of it. See if I go to Google Map, it's probably not going to try to avoid gravel. So yeah, so see that routed me down gravel. So now I can see this dashed line here. So I know instantly I'm on gravel. So, which like I say, could be a good thing. It's what I want, or it could be a bad thing. I want to avoid it, but it makes it easy to see. Um, so I can just drag and drop if I don't like what it's doing. I can add custom cues. I can add a control point. Like if I just wanted to change a short area, I could add control points. And if I add, say I add a control point here, and then I add another one here, and then I start dragging and dropping. It's only going to drag and drop between those points because it knows that I'm saying I want to stay on that route.
Hey, Dave, what are some of the options on the routing tab on the right-hand side? Looks like you have driving selected.
Yeah, you can change that, and you can change it while you're going. Um, you can have it on driving, and it's going to try following roads. Driving will normally avoid gravel a little better than if you're doing cycling. But you can switch, uh, and it's just going to affect while it's changed. So like I have it on driving now, or had it on driving. So the route so far is planned based on driving, but now I got it on cycling. So it's using cycling. Uh, so you kind of, if you want to stay on roads, use driving. If you want to use trails anytime possible, do cycling. You can also do walking, which will get you, um, really uh, off trails. You can do draw lines, which draw lines, it's just going to draw a straight line. So if I'm trying to get over here and that trail's not in yet, I do draw a straight line. It's just going to draw a straight line. And it's a little different to show me that it's basically a soft road. Um, so normally you do follow road either on driving or cycling, depending on what you're trying to accomplish is the two most common. You can also do stuff like reverse route, make it out and back. So if you create route one way, you can do out and back and create the back route for you, which will be identical to the route out unless you run into one-way roads, and then it will use the next road over to go the right direction. Um, you can split routes. Uh, you can trace, and trace is real nice. If somebody sends you a GPS file that they've recorded on their GPS or whatever, you can load it in and then just trace over it to create a route with all the turn-by-turn directions and cues, and etc. And you also have the ability to print maps and cues, custom maps and cues. So if I'm just going to save this route. I'm just going to call it temp because it's not real. And then I say view route, and I can just go up here under more, print map and cue, and then I can tell it what I want it to print, and print a custom cue sheet and or map for people that don't use GPS. But I highly advise either using a GPS or your phone, so you don't have to keep pulling your map out or cue sheet out. I think based on what I was
Finding
told
systems
last
relate
time,
to the
we
built
talked
and
as
natural
long as I
environment,
should.
help people find their way.
What's that?
Sorry, continue, Dave.
Okay, I think I've probably talked as long as I was supposed to talk, correct, Jim?
Well, yeah, we certainly can swap out. I'm going to share my screen. Thank you, Dave. Um, uh, and in a practical environment, where does this get us here? So, in preparation, is my screen displayed for you guys?
Yes.
Okay, so in preparation for this, a month ago, I thought let's just plan a ride, and I have two favorite mapping sources: Google Maps and Ride with GPS. And Google Maps just kind of for the, how do I get from home to the start of the ride thing. But so I thought let's do a ride from a neutral spot, and I picked the League of Michigan Bicyclists office, and it's not exactly downtown Lansing, but it's less than a mile from the Capitol. So it's in the heart of the city. Those are all big roads around there. And I thought, let's go down to Mason for lunch, which is down here. So it's about uh, the shortest distance in a car is 15 minutes, 13 and a half miles, but that's all freeway. We can't do that on a bike. Kudos to the Lansing area. You can do it on public transportation in 45 minutes, which is a big deal for those of us unfamiliar with buses. You could walk it, it would take 4 hours, or the first bike path. And look, there are three of them chosen for us here. So this one in the dark blue line mirrors very closely Ride with GPS. Not exactly, but it's close. Most of these places where there's a straight line is a city street. So if you see the second one over here for an hour, 17 minutes, or this one on the east side, there's a lot of pavement in there. So I have never taken, you see, I could get directions. It said directions to your phone right there. I have never taken directions directly from Google Maps. If anybody out there has done that and has success with it, please put a note in the comments. I'd like to know about it. But from this, I'm trying to get rid of there they go. Okay, so I want to come over here. I also did on Ride with GPS. I dropped the same point, the starting point at the League office and the ending point at the restaurant in Mason. And I curated this ride. I went over everything turn by turn. If you see on the left-hand side, you can see the full cue sheet right here. And if you tab on anything, it'll take you up. You can edit cues. This little guy over here is our street view, which is important. If you want to see what the street looks like there, you just drag them out and you can see that here we're on a road that has a paved shoulder. It's not a bicycle lane shoulder, but it is pavement outside of the fog line on both sides. So we made this one route down here. Interesting, right here, this is in just north of Mason, Dart Corporation. So Ride with GPS had us come down and then routed us through their parking lots, various parking lots, all of Dart Corp. And it's, I'm not sure I would do this for a public ride or a group tour. There you can see their main office building, and this roadway, this driveway here, goes through their parking lots to get around it. That got us down there. To come home, I went to Ride with GPS, and this is our return from Mason. And I just dropped a pin at the restaurant and another one at the League office. Made no corrections to this route, no corrections at all. So Monday, I was out there with a buddy of mine, and we rode the whole thing. We drove to Mason, we rode up to Lansing on this one right here, and back on the other one that I had previously made. My phone was giving commands to me. I also have a bike computer that was running the same route at the same time. Like Ronald Reagan said, we want to trust but verify where we're going, kind of thing. And the difference, the primary difference, you can see right here, the first route had us on North Aurelius Road. This one took us through a whole bunch of trails over here. I guess to summarize where this gets us when it's all done, 17 miles, almost 14 miles or so on protected bike trail on this route. On the other one, it's a little bit less. It's probably about 11 miles on protected bike lane, and the rest would have been on public roads. I will tell you that the cool thing about this, I knew we went through the parking lot here and we went around it on Cedar Street and then this Hogback Road on the other ride. The reason I wanted to see what it was like going through their parking lot and also on this other ride. I'll show you the road here. We were on the main highway. You can see it's 2 lanes in both directions, divided highway. Probably nobody's favorite place to be, but there's a big shoulder on it. We were on it for about a quarter mile to get up into the Dart frontage street on Hogback. This whole stretch here on Cedar Street could be avoided if we came over Harper and down this Dart Road, and those you can see are all little tiny residential streets. We have a 35-mile-an-hour turn coming up. I don't know what the speed limit is on this road. Otherwise, it is not striped in any manner. It's a township road. Looks like it's been chip sealed. And this Harper Road is a little bigger road, you can see. But again, it's not striped. I doubt that that's 55-mile-an-hour road, but you can see it's just residences on there and farms and not a heavily trafficked road. So this tool gives you many ways to get around on your bike. I had ridden a tiny portion of this ride up in Lansing and in Mason, going the opposite direction from the place. So this was, generally speaking, brand new territory. The cool thing is we got lost right away. The phone said, keep right, or whatever it said. And we went up just a little bit here and turned around and came back. And then it wanted us to go around the cemetery here. All these turns are great to know about. There were a lot of turns. Anyway, we made it through our ride, and it was great fun to be in a new territory on a new system. I'm going to ask for some help here to exit screen sharing because I've lost the command. Anybody know how to do that? Very good. Thank you. Thank you. So a couple things about it. On all these rides with RideWithGPS, you can download the PDF.
Jim, we lost your audio for a sec there.
Am I back?
You're back.
Okay. So on the RideWithGPS, we always download the route and print a copy. And there's 2 parts of that. The front page is a map. You flip it over, and it's a cue sheet, turn-by-turn directions. I got to find my script again here. Pardon me. So I want to repeat something that I said earlier. At least I hope I said it. When you go on a bike club ride, somebody has already done this work. They've ridden the road, they put it on a mapping service, and it's one of the tools that the bike club has to make you comfortable with a bike club ride. If you're at home, I was reading through the comments on the Facebook page that were the negative, we'll just call them the concerned comments from last fall. And somebody said, I don't want to go on club rides all the time. I want to go to the barber, or I want to go to the grocery store. These tools are absolutely available for short rides. And I use them regularly, even at home. When I know where I'm going, it doesn't matter. There's always more than one way to get there. And I enjoy finding a different way to do the same thing. So I've been to the hardware store many times, to the barber. I went to the barber a month ago. It's 22 miles from my house to my barber. And I combined it with a lunch meeting with a fellow. So it was a 50-mile day by the time I went from Dexter to South Lyon and back. and I took a loop. I studied the whole loop the whole way. I knew where there was going to be traffic, expected traffic. The cool thing is when you plan a ride and you know this stuff, it gives you confidence that when you get there, yeah, I can expect there might be some truck traffic. Or here's an elementary school. I don't want to go by there between 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon because there'll be school buses and parents coming in to pick up people. Or there's a mall. I don't ever want to go by a mall, particularly. Sometimes you have to. But I use these tools so I'm briefed before I get somewhere. It's not that I want to be told where to ride all the time. It's that I want the background to have the understanding that I'm not surprised by something if I come across it. So with that said, I'd like to turn this over to Jordan Buzzy.
All right, you guys got my audio? Excellent. All right. Well, so hi, I'm Jordan. I staff with Gym and Bike Tour Vacations, and I'm a longtime outdoorsman and traveler. I want to talk a little bit off of what Jim is saying here. You noted that his last story ended with ending up in places you might not expect, or, you know, if you see something on a map ahead of time and you see a million little turns, it's worth diving in. It's worth using some of the tools that John talked about, bringing up other maps, whether it's open maps or a bike view. CalTopo would be another one. These are good to verify what's there, but there's always a bit of risk. So another great resource is to call an area's municipality, whether it's the Department of Transportation, County Park Service, the National Park Service is great if you have that, or National Forest Service. I use these services a lot to verify which roads are open, to get a better understanding of what certain roads that, you know, it looks like a one-way residential and they might let you know, oh, by the way, that's actually an access for a business. You might not want to bike down it. You never know. So it's always worth double checking. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here if I can. Over here, and we're looking for, oh, maybe we will. We'll see. We're all struggling today. Over to this. There it is. And share. All right. So something that I like to do ahead of time, even if I'm in the car, sometimes you drive past something and you say, hey, what's that trail over there? Mirrors the highway or rolls off into the hills. Well, if I'm a passenger, I drop a little pin in Google Maps. And you can do that just by clicking and holding on your computer or on your phone. And it'll give you a little GPS coordinate. And something that's great is you can save these. So I'll actually back out here, and you'll see on the sidebar, click saved, and these are all of my saved things that I see, whether it's good food on the highway, places to check out around home, or I made this little one of trailheads. So let's say you're looking to ride the border to border trail in Washtenaw County here, but you're not quite sure where to get in. Well, you can go and look up trailheads. Maybe you notice there's one somewhere strange. You say, oh, it looks like I can actually bike down here. I like to take these pins and use them when I go over to Ride with GPS. And these help inform the route that I'm building. In terms of bike tour vacations and the way that we say run a tour, this is great for marking bathrooms, for marking pull-offs for your SAG vehicles. Maybe there's a little extra turn lane or a wide shoulder. These are things that won't come up on Google Maps natively, but as you ride or as you talk to people, maybe sitting in Zuzu's out in Chelsea and someone says, oh, hey, you know, turn right on this little side trail. It's going to take you in a big loop. It's gorgeous. That might be a place to drop a little GPS mark and, you know, remind yourself that there's other things than just what the computer shows you. And it also helps you be more prepared to route around certain things. The more you do this, I think the more you're gonna realize you don't always trust the trail, and you might trust yourself. You might say, hey, there's a little boulevard through a neighborhood. Boulevards mean wide roads, neighborhoods mean low traffic. It might be better than crawling on a state highway or something, just, you know, just a few miles to the side of it. So that's really the gist of what I wanted to get at here, was just to let people know that there is a way to route in areas. We do a lot of stuff up north. So, you know, maybe there's not a trail system. You can make your own, and you better believe the locals are riding bikes. So if you can reach out to their clubs and groups, they'll let you know where it's a good, safe place to roll around.
Thank you, Jordan. Jim, did you have any more you wanted to add? Dave, any more? We haven't had a whole lot of questions come in, so happy to pitch it back to you.
Okay.
Yeah, am I up? Or go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. Bike stores and bike clubs are great resources. And, two of the clubs that I'm involved with, Bike TCBA has what they call a crosstown map, interactive map on the website. And it's not designed to get you from, point A to point B. It's designed, you decide where point A and point B is, and it shows you, you can see what's the best roads to get there, and then you can design your own route. Genesee Wanders has a lot of the local county trails on the same type of interactive map. We have quite a few trails around here. And the TCBA one has Lansing River Trail, but we got the Iron Bell Trails going to go through here and a lot of trails off it. Those are both resources. Drop an email. I'm always glad to help somebody. If you call me and say I'm trying to get from point A to point B, I'm glad to try to help you figure it out. I've actually had people riding cross country and wanting to get off the ACA route for one reason or another. Like one guy, I remember, he wanted to visit his dad that lived in Michigan, so he's getting off the official route. So he sent me an email, and I worked him out a route to get to his dad's house and then back to the ACA route. And I've helped some other people that way. So never, and I've done it myself. I've been out in Arizona and stopped by a local bike shop. Hey, where's a good place to ride? So never hesitate to talk to a bike store or a bike club. They know the local roads.
I'm gonna double up on that. My first bike tour, we rode blind west out to Kalamazoo from Ann Arbor, and hit Jackson. And it wasn't until we chatted with some locals that we even knew there was a trail between there and Albion. So talking to people will save you from riding on roads. And I do want to point out, I pulled up the Michigan.gov DNR state trails page, and that does have that Iron Bell Trail, as well as what they call linear or rail trail maps. And those are the resources that John here is talking about. And you can find them, the counties they go through will have maps that will connect to the smaller ones. The state ones might only show the big state ones. So once you start connecting all the little maps, you can pretty much go anywhere you want.
Yeah, MDOT also has bike maps by region that you can download. You can buy paper copies or you can download PDF, and those are a good resource too.
Yeah, I'll second that comment on the MDOT maps. They are outstanding. They rank all the roads by traffic load. So, and there's three colors: green, yellow, and red. Green is light traffic. Red is roads we don't want to go on, and the yellow ones are a little cross between the two. In my experience, they have never been wrong when they call a green road. They're low traffic for just because they're low traffic. They're indispensable for me. I'd also like to say that I hope the theme here of knowing where you're going, finding somebody who can get you that information, knowing about these resources is getting through to people. It just is a whole lot safer when you're riding and you have this information in your back pocket.
I do want to kick one thing that we didn't cover here, because I've noticed all three of us have started talking about when you travel outside of your home region. If you are in a place where you might be losing cell signal, I'll reiterate what John said, that it will save the map details if you save the map, but also on Google Maps, you can carve out a little area and save those details to your phone. Your GPS will run even when you don't have cell signal, provided you're not in a bunker or in a heavy storm. And that little dot will track. What you lose with your cell signal is the little roads and the trails. Those are the first names to go. The major roads and highways usually stay. But if you download that map region, You can zoom all the way in and follow your little trail, even if you lose signal there. And that's an important tool to have, especially when when you start busting away from the trail and trying new stuff.
Yeah, that's one thing I like about Ride with GPS, that automatically, based on your planned route, it knows what maps it needs to download. So you never have to worry about it. You can actually put your phone in airplane mode to save battery, and if you don't want people calling you, whatever.
And I think it's important to state that Ride with GPS has a perfectly usable free version. Now, if you start saving 100 maps and a bunch of details and you want it to speak directions, you're going to have to pay a subscription, but it works perfectly fine as a free service.
Right, the free service is real good. And for like the average person, that's probably all the route planning they need. You start planning like I do, it's worth every penny I'm paying for the highest level of paid version. But as far as the spoken directions, the free version basically doesn't do spoken versions. But if a club has a club account, which the 3 clubs I'm involved with do, uh, if you have the free version, you can get spoken directions on the routes in our club accounts.
Yeah.
So, so that's a good way to find out if you think it'd be worth paying for, is do one of our rides, and and you don't necessarily have to do it at the same time we are. You can download it, do it anytime you want, and see if you like having the spoken directions, if it's worth the cost to you or not.
Dave, let me just say that from a tour leader standpoint, and I have my own tours and I lead some tours for a couple clubs. Um, it's important that we understand how ride directions are given out. Generally speaking, there's a map of the day and a cue sheet for the ride, and that in my world they all come from Ride with GPS. Um, the the online version of it you can have running on your phone or your bike computer. I always have it going. I'm relying on the audible signal. When it'll say in a quarter mile turn right or whatever it says. It's that audible signal much more important than looking at the screen. I don't want to watch the screen. So my phone is usually in my back pocket, giving me a cue in enough time that I can prep to turn left or right, whatever it is. Um, we do have a couple kind of guests on tour, whether it's a club ride or otherwise. There are people who want to know exactly where they're going. We love these folks. They've looked at the ride before they left home, and they've got an idea, what 20 miles or 30 miles means and what they're going to see. We have people who say, "Oh, I'm following my buddies. I don't need to know I'm going with this group." Um, and they're the ones that we're concerned about. If they take a wrong turn and then they call for instructions or come pick me up, they don't know where they are and we can't find them. So this little bit of planning is it gives a whole lot of comfort to whoever the ride leader is, to know that people have seen the route and they've got the map and they understand it. That may conclude, Matt, what we have to say.
Well, thanks very much. Do folks have questions that you'd like to share either aloud or in the chat?
Jim,
Hey, Don.
I'm probably in the second group on a lot of the club rides, and it's like I need to stay with the leaders or I'm going to get dropped and not know where I'm at. So this is probably pretty helpful for me. I would like to share one incident, and it happened probably about 5 years ago, and it still bothers me to this day. Jim knows that I ride strictly on either borders to borders or gravel roads. I like to stay away from the traffic. So I was going south of Dexter, and I crossed over Parker it was a road that went straight across Parker and went north, and then I was coming back, uh, and I wasn't familiar, but I had to go on Parker for about a quarter mile, and there was a car coming from the opposite direction and a car behind it passed. And I was on the right side of the fog line. If I'd have been on the left side, I would have got hit. It was just, it was like I felt the car. That's how close he was. And that, I just, I'm just scared of little things like that. And if I had ride by GPS, I could have avoided that scenario, or I could have just doubled back the way I came and just crossed over Parker. But I thought, well, it's only a short,
Mhm.
couple 100 feet or something like that. And it just, to this day, it reminds me of Karen McKeechee on what happened to her.
Yeah, it was the
So
car that was doing the passing that got close to you?
yeah, I mean, he pulled out and passed the car that was in front of him, and he came within inches of hitting me. But I was on
Don,
the right side of the fog line. If I'd have been legally
Mhm.
riding on the left side of the fog line, I would have been hit.
and
So,
Don, I know that you ride with a flashing front light.
yeah, I had lights on. I had the flashing front light on. I had flashing rear lights on. But it didn't matter for him, I guess. He had no clue.
Yeah, I
So
wish there were an answer for that.
that's what's scary.
I mean, I'll throw a couple of points on that because I mean, I'm sure every cyclist comes by some sort of close call. I think one thing that's good when you're riding on roads, especially unfamiliar roads, is to have the confidence, even if it's dirt and gravel, to get off the road. If you see a traffic thing going on and you have the ability, if you have the skill level and you can get yourself over the shoulder, it's a good thing to do. And if traffic's looking bad and you're getting freaked out, if you can, hop off that bike, get yourself far to the side, and there ain't no shame in walking. And
So
we all hope we don't get caught in those split second scenarios where a driver swerves, though.
Yeah.
the thing is, I didn't even have time to
Yeah,
react. I
certainly.
was just lucky that I was on the right side of the fog line. Uh,
Hmm.
it was you know, just one of those things.
And nothing is perfect, but one thing I really like is I always ride with front and rear lights, but I also always ride with radar. And you can radar can be tied into your GPS unit, or it can be tied into different cell phone apps, one of them being Ride with GPS. So, warn you, and I have a Garmin. I know there's other brands, but my Garmin will track up to 8 cars. And then when the closest one, if there's more than 8, and the closest one passes me, another one will come on the screen. So you can, the cars are coming, how many of them. And I also always ride with a mirror.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
been riding.
radar and mirror are good for building confidence.
Mhm.
Yeah, I ride with a mirror consistently also.
Jeff, you wanted to know what section of Parker Road this occurred on?
It was south of Jackson Road. Um, I'm not sure um, what dirt road I was on because I came back up a dirt road, and then when I crossed, probably I don't know if Liberty or one of those, but it was a small section where I had to go north on Parker to go west again on a dirt road. So I didn't go back the same way